I lost my virginity to the one person who was supposed to protect me, my dad. I am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. My dad left my mum when he found out that she was pregnant. I'd kind of always hoped that he would get back in contact and wanted to meet him. When I was 11, he got back in touch with my mum and basically asked if he could have contact with me. He's HIV positive. He'd got quite ill and I think it scared him and he kind of wanted to make amends. I wanted to have contact with my dad and I began meeting him. It got to the point where I was staying at his house every other weekend. I was very excited to have my dad back in my life. As a teenager, he's introduced me to weed and alcohol. He really manipulated me against my mum. He would say things like that she's really strict, she doesn't understand what it's like to be a teenager. It's all just part of that manipulation. When I was 14, I started getting sexually abused by my dad. It started when I woke up in the night to his hands down my trousers, and I just kind of woke up and was almost like frozen. I started crying and he realized that I wasn't asleep and he very quickly stopped. And afterwards he made me feel very guilty for what was happening and he would say sorry and that he was such a monster, but then it would continue to happen again and again and again. My dad took my virginity from me. Your first time is supposed to be something special and that you remember, and that's something that I'm never gonna get back. The fact that he used protection, he's obviously thought about it and planned it, put his own daughter at the risk of potentially catching HIV as well. I did know deep down that it wasn't right, but because I had been groomed so heavily and that I didn't want to lose my dad, kind of stopped me from speaking. My mum knew something was going on. She could tell that I was very withdrawn, but obviously she never suspected what was going on. Just by chance, I'd left my phone on charge downstairs and she'd happened to look at a text message that had popped up and it was from my dad, saying that he was sorry for what he'd done. She then went on to read the rest of our text conversations and she phoned my dad and spoke to him and he admitted everything and he agreed to stay sat in the flat until police came. He was sentenced to 12 years, but that was reduced to 8 because he pleaded guilty. He served 4 years in prison and the rest out on licence, similar to on probation, but his licence is now finished as well. A sentence of 4 years for what he did doesn't feel like enough. I recently went through a restorative justice with him and in the end he pulled out from meeting me face to face and it made me realise there is no remorse there. He can essentially carry on like nothing has happened. It's something that I struggle with every day. I think the main thing about wanting to share my story is just a lot of victims, they feel such intense shame and guilt for what has happened, and just to remind them that those feelings don't belong to them, they belong to your abuser. I am seen, are you?